Okay, welcome everybody to the Referral Challenge Q&A Mastermind call for Friday, December 15th, a week and a few days from Christmas. Saw a very cute video in this news feed that I have where they called it the Brawl at St. Christopher's or something like that, and it was these little kids, these toddlers, 2- and 3-year-olds. They were doing a nativity scene, a live nativity scene, and they were all gathered around baby Jesus in his basket in the manger. And one of the kids, who was playing like a sheep or something, reaches down and picks up the baby. It's just a doll, but picks up the baby and starts dancing with it like this. And then Mother Mary, who was another 3-year-old, was right there, and she's like, no, and grabs it. And then they start tussling and going after it, and all the people in the church are just laughing and having a great time. Very, very cute. But I liked how they titled it The Brawl at St. Christopher's. Anyway, it is a wonderful time of year. That is for sure. It's very nice. And hopefully we're all in the Christmas season, or Christmas spirit. So let's just, Eric, we're going to start with you, and just give us an update on how things are going, and any questions you have or anything we can help you with.
Yeah, my year-end planning is done, and so I've got a pretty good focus. I talked to community the other day and really getting focused about. I've mentioned like we kind of came up with a big rock of a saleable business, and putting all those things in place. Some good funnels. One of those being the Smart Start, and then so I've got a pretty good marketing for the first 90 days, a pretty good plan laid out. I think they're pretty aggressive, but I'm pretty aggressive in terms of like getting myself debt free by 5/31. That's business is completed. That's my birthday. So that's my birthday present to myself. And so I got all my budgeting and all that stuff out, which is, it's always kind of a brain racker. And then of course we had a big advocate meeting last night, and they've got a big thing they're rolling out. So now I'm going to go in and change it, but it's pretty exciting. I think it's really going to do a boost for our nutrition business. But we're working really well with cross-line people in that, and that's been growing. We're actually the busiest in Advocate right now we've ever been, selling supplements and nutrition and all that. So our nutrition's really kind of picked up here, and it's only going to accelerate at the end of the year. And I think that's just a lot of it's just I'm putting a lot of focus in on it, because that's really my ticket out of one of my tickets out of here when I'm done is residual income from that business. But yeah, we have a pretty good marketing calendar built out. We're doing a 12 days of fitness right now, which is good. It's just not as big as our Black Friday, but they're kind of little deals. Like we pulled in $500 of revenue yesterday, just doing a little here and there, selling some books, some of our old MPE books and stuff, and some of those things. So doing some of that stuff as well. I just feel like we're really organized, and now it's just, really kind of going out and implementing and executing for us. I think we're using the project manager stuff really well, and the review. I think feel like I'm in a pretty good zone right now with stuff, and for December we're sitting pretty good, and I think, by this time next year, looking at, what do we do next, and so we're doing the man up. I'm going to resend it to you. We finally got everything proofed. I mean, it's a lot of work putting all that material together, but my admin or my manager got through all the new guide and everything. So I'm going to relaunch that to you so you can take a look at it. So it's a lot of stuff, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. And we've actually tied it into we did a Christian men's kind of like a men fitness, faith and fitness kind of men and muscle type thing. And it went really well. And we're going to tie that ministry into the Man Up program. Basically, the guy we have a men's group here every Thursday. It's a bunch of fitness guys and military guys. And the guy who runs it says, yeah, I got an idea. We should call this Man Up. And I'm like, well, that's what I call that thing. So kind of brings the two together, the ministry piece and the actual program itself, So yeah, I think we're ready to roll for, getting a webinar going on the calendar for mid-January. And Advocare's got this 180 launch thing where they're doing, it's a 80-day coaching and nutrition program. So there's some recurring income there, as well as, helping drive that, business up. And then we'll probably do some type of a gold rush event with Greg Stern's ministry, and do that in February again. And and then just kind of some Facebook ads, but then really kind of drive the Smart Start, driving everything through Smart Start. So we got a lot to do, but I think we're in a good place. I went through my systems checklist. We have a few things to shore up, but we're doing pretty good. I mean, compared to last year, we have a lot of systems in place, I think, that are really going well.
Well, that's awesome. The Man Up program, I think it's just it's a great idea. I'm digging it and getting good results, and you'll get a good testimonial from me. I'm looking forward to seeing the update. But I think it's a perfect, at least initially, it jives perfectly with the faith. You were talking about launching this with the faith-based group. I think that's a perfect way to niche it even further initially to get more traction by launching it specifically to faith-based group men, because you can talk about not just man up in terms of your health and fitness, but man up in terms of your being a man, a leader in your household, that kind of thing, with faith-based messages. And you should look at what Aaron wrote, this letter that he wrote for Fred Zoller, which is just outstanding. I mean, it's really, really good. And it has a lot of those core messages, faith-based messages, and also being there for your family type thing. I think there's a lot of stuff that you could swipe and deploy, with Aaron's okay. But that's a heck of a letter. Aaron, what's the URL for that to get to that letter?
I can't say. I can punch it into the chat as soon as I locate it, but I can't tell you what it is off the top of my head.
All right, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. But if you get it and punch it into the chat, that's great. But how is that promotion going? Do you know?
Last I checked with Fred a couple of days ago, he had 225 leads.
Nice. Can you just tell the guys what that promotion is in case they don't know?
Yeah, Fred reached out to me wanting to do he's giving away a family membership.
I saw that. I saw the letter just the other day, actually.
And so anyway, he was inquiring of, a letter to launch out to the community to try to get families interested in joining as a team. And so he and I collaborated back and forth. He only had one offer initially. I talked him into taking making 3 offers out of it. And ultimately tried to find what I thought would resonate with family units. And, so I came up with a headline, health of your bodies is the best doctor your family will ever have. And so then from there, I just kind of did what I could to paint a picture of what it means for families to respect each other during working out. So in today's, internet society and peace society for the most part, you're not out digging hoes or gardens for survival or hunting for your food or, defending your house for that matter. And so we've lost what it means really as a family to fight for each other. And getting into the gym kind of helps to restore that basic unity that otherwise relaxation and peace can't bring. Right.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. It's really very powerful, and I think the themes are directly transferable to a more Christian message, Eric. So that's something that you ought to look at. Oh, great, thanks, Aaron. So the link is up there for you if you want to take a look at that. So that's cool. I wanted to, Eric, what about the year-end planning? Did you already do that, or are you going to be doing that?
Pretty much done. Got all my personal and my business goals. I got my marketing calendar for the first quarter, budget. I mean, after doing it for a few years, it seems to go a little bit. Then my first year I did, I remember it took forever, but now I'm pretty clear on what I want to do. And yeah, I mean, it was about a 2-day process, but we got it done. And
who do you do it with?
Last year I did a little bit with Andrea Tornes because her studio is pretty close to mine, but I just did it on my own this year. And I actually had a sick kid, so I had to do it from home. I couldn't go off site, so I did it at home yesterday, and then I was able to really get really honed down and get it knocked out. So it was on my big rock for this week was to get that ready, so I can really kind of go into the holidays, with some good momentum and just kind of relax and enjoy the holidays and not worry. I have a plan in place to go out and execute. So.
Yeah, I think that's really a smart thing to do, the year-end planning. Rick, do you do that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really, we used to do it at NPE regularly and teach it too, and so it's very effective. So Eric, you mentioned the saleable business is the ultimate objective. Do you have a timeline on that?
You know, I was at BNI the other day, and a guy came in that actually does that, he brokers that, and he said it's about a 3-year process. Now, I was talking to Amelia. I said, basically, I would say most businesses are probably a mess because they don't have a good coach like her, So, but I'd say, it would be nice, to start making that move and start putting the feelers out there. And maybe, it'd be great in a year, but 2 years, starting to think about if it takes that long to find the right, because it's not like a house. You're not going to have a ton of buyers. It's a little different deal, but I set up a one-on-one with him to just kind of go through, and I got a valuation that's pretty current. My accountant does business valuations, so just to kind of see what that is, because you always kind of want to think of what's next and end game type stuff. So it's like, a saleable business to me is profit. Like we set some parameters with 15% profit, no debt. It's you always hear you want to look at selling it when it's doing good, and probably staying on it for whatever 6 or 12 months to help make the transition. Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to start thinking about that. It's not going to just happen in a few months. Let's start thinking about what's next. For me, and I do enjoy being home more. I've been home more, and I can see the difference in my family. So and that comes from having good staff and good systems too. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great goal to have, and I think just having that goal and working towards it will force you literally to dial in your business even more than you already have. Because you're going to be aware that, hey, I'm approaching this end goal. It's got to be squared away. The more dialed in it is, the more valuable it becomes. And I agree with you about the Smart Start group. One of the things, any savvy business buyer, and they're not all savvy, there's no doubt about it, but any savvy business buyer will look for duplicable or consistently performing marketing systems that you have to generate new clients. And if you can show that Smart Start is, hey, we're consistently pulling X number of dollars, X number of clients out of this group, and it's consistently growing, blah blah blah, that just it adds tremendous value to the business.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. If I could get 3 good funnels that consistently are pulling at least 10 good leads a month, one of them being the Smart Start. If I can get 30 leads a month, 30 good leads a month, that's pretty good for me, because I'll run my numbers. I can convert about 50% of those into consults, and that's about where I want to be, about 15 consults a month. So,
yeah, that's good.
Eric, let's jump in here. And just for those who may not know or understand the process of attempting to sell a business, it might be worth just backing up a bit into that conversation and talk about why you want to sell it, how long you've been in business, and kind of walk everybody through, how you've arrived at this point. And while you're at it, let's talk to these guys about what is a sellable business. I mean, what does it really look like? A company is not going to be necessarily wanting to buy your equipment, and they certainly don't want to buy the lease. So what are we buying in effect? So go ahead, Betty.
Yeah, good questions.
So,
yeah, would you mind giving a little bit of background, Eric? Just since we're on.
Well, 2005, I left the big corporate gym and got an opportunity to come in this building here with a chiropractor that I had built a good strategic alliance with, and I didn't want to stay on the corporate gym thing. I had been in that and wanted to do things my way, and it was exciting. It was fun. And when I started out, it was independent contractors. It was like a barber shop. They all paid me for their time, and everything was profitable. But as things go on, they couldn't keep their clientele going, and some of them, one went to chiro school, one went into a yoga. That was their passion. And so then it's like, okay, that's when I found MPE and did the, employees and building out systems. And, that was good. It changed my whole mindset as a business owner. And I've done all that, and it's kind of like anything in life. You do something for a while, and this has been, we're almost 13 years down the road. You get to that point where it's like, okay, I've done marketing. I've done a lot of this stuff. And, and then it's kind of like, well, okay, I'm 45, and, do I want to keep dealing with, big overhead every month and all these things, and, having to, and I don't care what they say, as well as you do, you still have to bust your butt, and you're going to have your dip and flow. So, I just kind of last summer, I ran across this Amy Porterfield on on YouTube, and I usually don't watch those YouTube ads, but something about her kind of grabbed me, just her personality and the way she kind of presented herself. Because I had been on another webinar before, and the gal was informative, but I'm just not feeling it. Some Canadian gal kind of doing the same thing, and so I just watched hers, and I signed up for a course. It's like modules, kind of like build MPE modules, and so I started going through it. I'm like, I really can see myself doing this, and I had started thinking, well, what's next? Because my wife and I kind of the same thing. My kids are getting older, and I was like, running a brick and mortar training studio takes a lot of my time, even though if I have good systems and employees. And I started thinking about, what, I'd like to do something more online, because I love to travel. I used to travel the world a lot more, and I'd want to get back to doing that. And, so what did community say? Flexible, mobile, and liquid, is kind of the thing. So I'm looking at dumping a couple rental properties this year and just getting back to, I've kind of done my time with the rental properties and that. And it's like, okay, I want to have more time freedom, and, we have a nice stuff, but it's like we live pretty modestly, and it's like we don't have a bunch of car payments and stuff. So for me, it's about getting that quality of life and spending time with the kids, and I'm able to do that somewhat because I work for myself, but there's been times where I can't, because, my wife can take a sick day. She's got paid time off. I don't have that. And, then we get those bad months and stuff, those tough months, and it just, not that I'm better at handling it, but it's just like, then we have to pull backwards. Like I would like to be a little bit less, be a little more profitable, a little less leverage, a little more leveraged out with some, some residual stuff plus some online stuff, and not have to worry about having to make that big nut every month, and, it's tough. They say you can get your recurring up there, but it's pretty darn tough because you'll gain 5 and you'll lose 3, and and so it's like, do I want to spend another couple of years doing that, or do I want to make some moves now and take some action and kind of go? And that's what kind of resonated with me. Like, I love coaching and teaching people what can I affect more people with something like that. And, I have it, I just, sometimes it's just learning some new technology, but I get it, and, I've had good mentors like you and all the, peers in MPE. It's like, I feel like, I know I can do this, and, just, having to show up here, and I don't have to as much. I mean, it's moved in the right, but I just feel like the time freedom for me would be great, be able to take a trip with my buddies and not be so locked down here, so.
That's huge. That is huge.
It sounds like you're about at the same place I am with my business. Well, I've been there for the last couple of years and been putting things in place very similar to what you're talking about. As far as the business itself, I think the most important things is, one, look at your lease, your current lease. Is it perpetuating? By that, I mean, will it perpetuate to the person you sell to where they can just assume it? Otherwise, a huge issue that nobody thinks about when they're selling a business is now selling your business is contingent upon that person coming to a new lease terms with your landlord. And that could ruin your sale if you don't have that already figured in your current lease. So that's one of the first things I did right away, is made my lease perpetuating. So because you go into a business, everything's for sale. You go into a business assuming you're going to sell it someday. If you don't, you're not going to put the systems and everything in place to make it sellable down the road. So that was the first thing I did, was a perpetuating lease. I don't know where you're at with your lease, but if you're at a position where as soon as it's coming due to when it's rewritten, you have that added in.
How did you do that, Rick? What is it? I mean, you've got to get a lawyer involved, I assume, but did you have to make some sort of financial commitment in order to get a
No, I explained to the landlord that, it's what I just said. Look, we all go, just like you go into business, we all go into business to ultimately sell it one day. Well, I'm building a business that is sellable. And part of that is, having a lease based on the current climate that is favorable to my business as well as you as a landlord. It's only a good deal if it works for both of us. But if I were to find somebody that wants to buy my business, I don't want the sale of my business being controlled by him trying to come up with a new lease from you and you changing terms on him that may not be favorable. So I want in my lease that if it's a good purchaser and it's a good opportunity, that this lease is going to continue on to them for the balance of its term. Then what you guys do after that is up to you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I like that a lot.
You know, that was the very first thing I did. Then the second thing is you start realizing, okay, this is something that's a reality that I do want to sell it someday. Start putting the systems in place right then. So when it comes time to sell it, the business isn't you. The business is the systems that anybody can come in and take over this business, just a matter of them learning the systems you have in place. Because if the business is about you, it's going to be hard to sell it. It's not worth as much to anybody else.
Right.
And then finally, work on building up your receivables, because that's really the value in any training business. The value isn't in the equipment, it's in the monthly receivables that those people are going to be able to get when they purchase that business from you. I mean, because what you were saying, Eric, is very similar to what my current goals are. I mean, and so the last several years, I've been working towards this. You know, like, for example, this year, I plan on spending 2018 seeing the world with friends and business associates, you know, and basically my goal is to do good stuff with good people. You know, and so I've positioned it the last couple years to where this year I'm going to do it. I'm spending a lot of time traveling. You know, some of it's good, you know, vacations, long weekends. I plan on, and I think I mentioned this to Eric at one time, I plan on doing some masterminds with, you know, with fitness professionals in places like Cabo, Cancun, things like that, just to where not only can we learn together, but we can create memories. So that's what 2018 is going to be for me. I mean, that's really my bucket list, is to do that. And it's not changing my goals. My goals are still to help a whole lot of people and make their lives better, but I just want to do it in a little bit different way. So I've been planning towards this the last several years, and it sounds like that's what you're talking about. I mean, when you said you want to be able to travel with your kids and you want to be able to do things, it sounds very similar to where my head is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And I think it's good, it's smart to have that horizon be a little bit further out, because as you said, Rick, you just said you've been planning on this for a few years now. And Eric, you said you're looking at about a 2 to 3 year time horizon. I think that's smart. You know, you don't want to try and rush into these things, but I think you do want to be ready, because you never know when opportunity is going to present itself. So
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it was about 3 years ago I started putting all the systems in place, making sure that, yes, even though I still do sales, that I have a system that I can teach somebody when they come in, and everything, you know, all the systems on how to run the place, how, you know, like with Mike Fernandez's product that's coming out, things like that are the systems we're talking about. You know, systems are what makes our business valuable. That, and like I said, building up the receivables. And then you can start planning also your future. And that's how you create your ideal life, by creating your ideal business with your ideal parachute out of that ideal business.
So I'm going to jump in, Rick. I mean, dude, you are gold, man. And always just bringing the value. And that was my experience, Eric, was when I sold my business, and I walked Paul Fetters a bit through selling his. I just told him to just get a hold of a local business broker. So I'd go ahead and advise you to start investigating that process. But at the end of the day, a business that's coming in to buy your business, they're looking at, that was strange.
yeah.
They're looking at two primary metrics, right? They're looking at, you know, your receivables. That is, you know, how much do you have coming in at all times, right? And your lead sources, right? Where are they coming from? How consistently are you getting them? Because, dude, they don't want to buy your appreciating asset. They, you know, weight equipment drops precipitously over time, right? They certainly don't want your lease, right? they'll assume the lease, assuming you got it worked out. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, what do you have coming in every month and what can I expect to continue to come in, right? And that's how you sell it. And of course, your system, so that you're selling your systems. And if your system's in place, which of course includes lead source, yeah, you're a lot closer. And Mr. Fetters sold his business for a mint, dude. I mean,
did he sell all 3 of them, Aaron?
He did.
All 3 locations to one individual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Paul did a lot of smart things. I mean, Eric, you know Paul. Do you still have any relationship with him? Are you in touch with him?
I connected him on Facebook. Yeah, I remember sitting with him at MPE and stuff. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you know, it might be worthwhile to reach out and just say, hey, you want to have a chat. I think he was getting hit up so much before during the MPE days by folks wanting to. The last time I saw him, which was year and a half ago, he said that he'd implemented a plan where he was charging people if they wanted to call and try and pick his brain. He was, you know, they'd have to pay a consulting fee, which I thought is smart. But I would still reach out to him and just ask, you know, if he's got some time and see what he says. He might not push that at you. I think, you know, I don't know, but even if he does charge, it'd be worthwhile, in my opinion, to have that conversation.
Yeah, I meet with this business broker here in a couple of weeks, and you know, after Christmas and stuff. So yeah, I'll kind of start feeling it out, you know, see what the steps are, you know. So
yeah. So the Amy Porterfield stuff that you mentioned, that's specifically about info marketing, online info marketing?
Yeah, she does webinars, and then she does some other stuff about building your list, you know, which, you know, you guys have taught me well on that, but the webinar piece was how to put together a profitable webinar and the systems. And she does a lot with Facebook ads and just how to use Facebook and pixels and all that stuff. And so she's got some really good, and then she has a bunch of different technologies, you know, she has little things on different technologies you can use. So you can go on and click on, like, you know, this one, Lead Pages is one of them, you know, so it's like, you know, that's what we've used for our Facebook ads. So, but yeah, no, it's good stuff, you know, and she's just she's a good marketer. She's done a really nice job. I mean, she was a Tony Robbins person. That was her old job.
Right. I think I might be confusing her with somebody else. I know the name, but I think she might, and Rick, you might know, Pat Rigsby's good friends, I think, with her or some other big female.
I'm trying to remember who it is that Pat is friend with.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Amy, but it's somebody like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't say unequivocally that it is not Amy, though.
Yeah. I think you're right, because I think it's the other girl, the blonde girl, who's came from the fitness world, and now I can't think.
Charlize.
Yeah. I think that's it. Anyway, the point is, I think it's smart that you're looking at those resources and learning how to sell via the webinar. That's wise, because, you know, webinar, it's funny, all the things that we used to do at NPE, we were sort of on the cutting edge with a lot of stuff. And we sold the shit out of webinar. I mean, we would sell webinars was our primary driver. Every launch we did, we used webinars to do it, and we would sell, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars off of webinars, and we did it consistently for years, year in and year out. And now it's just become more and more prevalent, and people think, oh, because it's being used so much that it's less effective. It's not. It's harder to get people on them to attend, but once they're on, it's the third most effective way to sell. And I think the hierarchy is one-to-one sales, and then platform selling in person, and number 3 is webinars. So I think it's smart to learn how to sell that way, and that's actually something that Aaron and I are looking into going forward, to sell the referral challenge and some other things. So that's good. Are you moving forward productively with that, Eric, with the webinar building? Have you built a webinar yet?
Well, that's the man up. I have a women's one I did, and I got some business out of that. But you know, the hard part was, like you said, is now the trick is getting the Facebook ads and the people to attend, which the Smart Start can be another avenue to help me build my webinar business. So so Camelia had me kind of do the man up. She said, you know, I was doing this thing a few years ago. And she said, why aren't you doing that anymore? And I don't know. You know, I kind of lost my way, but she's the one that got me going on that. And that's when we kind of threw this stuff together. Well, now I've got it formatted out. And now I just need to put the pieces in place and go back through Amy's stuff again and just review that. But yeah, I mean, it's like anything else, any other campaign. You just have to go and tweak it a little bit, and it's even going through the Man Up stuff now. The webinar piece, putting the slideshow and everything together is a lot quicker this time around, because I know it's just like auto closer. You have different components that you have to do, and it's just like an online auto closer. It's just a little different format, but it's no, it's. I think, it's like starting to do it consistently, and that's what my first quarter goal was to put an income goal for is to do 3 of those Man Up webinars and really kind of take the first quarter and just do 3 of them and knock them out, and I'm going to start doing some teasers on Facebook and everything like that too. Like I was doing stuff like, instead of dating, I was talking to you this the other day, stuff like a lot of guys are on the verge of midlife crisis, instead of doing the Trans Ams and the 20-year-old women, dating 20-year-old women, can do a program. So I'm going to do like a lot of funny little videos like that to kind of lead people to it and, make them interesting. Because, there's a lot of stuff on Facebook where it's just some guy showing off his abs and stuff, but it's going to be, I've already got kind of a little teaser list in the marketing calendar to start driving people to that. But I got to do it from multiple sources. So I started talking about a B&I the other day, and actually my B&I commercial, I think will be a great Facebook ad. I'm like, this would actually be a good Facebook ad. It would actually get in there. So yeah, no, I think that's what I'm going to just try to drive that one, and then I'll try to relaunch the women's one too, and try to have 2 of them going a month, so do 2 webinars of each a month just to start that pace up, because that's manageable.
Yeah, excellent. And one of the things I would encourage you to test is targeting the Christian niche. I would look for, folks who are into religion, Christianity, and into fitness, or following, those interests, and see what you can do with that. Because I think, particularly in the beginning when you're trying to get traction, the more you can niche down, generally speaking, the easier it is to generate sales. Yeah. All right. Well, good. A lot of stuff there. That was good stuff.
That was really good stuff.
Aaron, did we address all the questions that you had raised?
He did. I was just going to throw in one last comment, Eric, that I wrote a sales piece for a young lady, 50-year-old lady that's got a online kind of a webinar and health thing, and she's Christian based. And so in the process of writing that letter, I picked on the church, right? And I says of all of the institutions that are on the planet, right, outside of fitness, the church organization has more people in their facilities than virtually anybody else. And they're there to listen to an inspirational message, and they're there to receive spiritual guidance, and they're there for, life advice. And of all the things that the church has failed to do en masse, is they have failed to get people healthy, physically healthy, right? And it's a great shame, right? And so I played on that pretty hard in the letter, and I basically went down the spiritual steps of, look, the church has focused too much on the soul. But dude, before the soul was ever created, God put his hands on dirt, formed a man into the shape that he wanted him, and then breathed the breath of life into him. And then from there, he reached into man and extracted a rib and created another body suitable for him. This is how important the body is to God. And this is the great failure of the church.
Right? Amen, brother. Preach it.
Really good.
That is so true. And, it's interesting because if you see, particularly in the South, you see they have such high attendance at so many of these Sunday services. But if you just sit and watch people coming out of these churches, it's like when you go to a Disney World. You see 50% of the folks are overweight, 50% are obese.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
So, and going on down that, and much of this you can rip off, Eric, but going down, because it's true and it needs to be preached. But going down that same line of thought is the idea that the church has, in neglecting its responsibility, has basically forced the Christian community to go outside and find help in bariatrics and getting cut on and surgeries and invasive procedures, all which could have been prevented by way of the number one, spiritual guidance in your life could have kept you, healthy. So you create basically a common enemy out of the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, got it, dude, and go get some people.
Yeah. But let me just reinforce something that Aaron just said, which is critically important. If you look at the vast majority of really successful sales copy, always establishes some form of enemy. And what Aaron was just talking about is brilliantly said and exactly right on. When you can create an enemy that resonates, that is apparent to the reader, to the potential buyer, you then are on the same side. You guys, you and the potential buyer, the prospect, are on the same team, and you're together, and that's how you produce sales. So enemy is very important. All right, Adrian, good to see you, brother. Been a while.
All right.
While you're eating, let's jump up. Rick, tell us what's going on with you. I know you've been recovering a little bit, or maybe a lot of it, but anything that's news?
Well, as far as the physical location, I've got all my marketing planned for early January and the different things I'm doing. It's just a matter of me now sitting down and figuring out which day I'm going to pull the trigger on each promotion. But I'll have that figured out by early next week. Aside from that, just working on the other things, working on that Pro Diets funnel in the Facebook group, which that's one of the things I plan on launching here pretty quick. And just moving with that, really. The only other thing I've got going is working on, from my MPS side, got Eric Rokeach is going to be doing some testimonial videos, which actually you and Aaron should be hearing from him soon.
Great.
And besides that, just getting geared up for 2018. Like I was saying earlier, I've got big plans doing things a little bit differently this upcoming year, and enjoying life a little bit more.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. How's that no gain promo performing for you this year?
Pretty good. I've got probably 12 people doing it right now. So that's 12 people that would not have come through the doors if I would have tried to do a traditional 6-week challenge.
Right.
So it's pretty good. I mean, we've got until the end of the year before it's over. But so far, it seems to be going pretty good. The people are liking it. Really, all I did was integrated those same people in with my other training clients. They're not doing anything different, so they're already getting used to knowing what it's like to be a member here. They're being treated like a member from day one and everything. They're just in doing a different challenge, but the training's the same, the nutrition's the same.
And that's great. And I want to make a point about this. A lot of times we all get attracted to the sexy results. When we hear somebody talk about a promotion that pulled in hundreds of leads and thousands of dollars in new sales, and then, hey, we're riveted. You got our attention. But what people don't often pay attention to is like what you just said, the no gain promotion. Yeah, you got 12 people. It's, I look back at the history of the things that I've done, and I've sold, well over $20 million online, well over $20 million. I don't know the exact number, but I've sold a shit ton. And I think of all the things that I've done, all the various promotions that I've done, I've had maybe, say there's been 100 of them, I've had maybe 5, less than that, maybe 3 that I would call home runs, maybe 7 or 8 that I would say are triples. And the rest are doubles and singles. And that's the name of the game, is just being a prolific promoter, being a prolific marketer, rolling out different tactics, trying different campaigns, testing them, and doing them consistently. And I think you do that as well as anybody, Rick. You know, and the reason I mention that is because I use this service called Maelstrom, which helps me clean my email inbox and organize it and things like that. And I was just going through it the other day, and I was looking, and it categorizes each person that mails to you. It groups everybody together. And I came to Rick Streb's emails. And you are one of the most consistent emailers I get, and I subscribe to a lot of folks. You send a lot of emails. You're very consistent about it. They're high quality. So it's an important point that I think everybody hopefully understands, is the consistency of the marketing and not always looking for home runs, because it's the double singles that'll make you rich. I
agree. That's why I've got several different promotions that'll be going on, because one of them resonates with different people. Okay, instead of trying to hit that home run every time, you know, I'm doing the New Year's transformation wait list, which is just going to be get on our wait list for our our 2018 biggest challenge ever, and then it takes it to a second page. Hey, if you want to come in December for half off, you know, here's your opportunity to do that. Then I'm doing the holiday recovery program, because I know I'm not starting my first challenge till the end of January, because I know how people are with paying off Christmas and getting back to work and everything. My holiday recovery program is nothing more than I take 30 people and they get the month of January for free to train with us at a time when they're not going to be spending money anyway, just getting back to work, getting the kids back in school, paying off their credit card debt. I know a lot of people aren't going to spend money, so I kind of play on the thing that, look, you're going to be making your New Year's resolutions anyway. Gyms prey on people New Year's. They get you to sign up knowing you're not going to stick with it, and they lock you into a 2-year gym membership. With this program, let's make sure you're going to stay with it before you continue. So the month of January is on me to make sure you're going to stick with it. So again, I make the gyms the bad guys.
Right, right.
You know, and then my actual challenge won't start till the 3rd, probably 4th week of January. So the ones that sign up for my ongoing program, great. The other ones I'll try to roll into the 6-week challenge. So I have them in there earlier. So it's not a matter of trying to hit a home run in January, but having a couple different ways to get people in to try to get them into my funnel is really my goal. So there's 3 different ways I'm trying to go about it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Great example. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to direct people's attention to this time period, because I think this is such an important message that people need to hear over and over again. All right, good. So, Adrian, let's get down to you there, brother. Let us know how things are going and any issues that we can help you with.
It's just been going slow. Going back to training, every single session leaves me with pretty little time to do anything. Like, I kind of already have to get going back as it is now, but developing a team, again, is hard, because part of me is still, like, wondering when they're just going to mess up. But it's been okay so far. So right now I have me, and then there's 2 other coaches who I'm kind of developing up right now. One of them is more experienced than the other. So one has been easier to train up than the other, but it's been a good process so far. And then I'm looking for one more. So what I really want to do is be able to have 3 coaches. So that way, then at least we know that if it ever gets busy, like, then we have 2 coaches available on the floor to make sure that everybody's getting attention, you know? But other than that, I don't know. It's just been, like, the days have just flown by. You know, I don't really have much time to do anything else except for, like, training all my sessions, and then that's it. That's all. That's all I've been doing is training sessions, interviewing people. You know, I've had a lot of interviews, but I've had to just walk right through them, because it's just I've learned that I'm settling for people that I don't like or that I don't want on my team. So it's been trudging along through mud is what it feels like sometimes. And I'm just tired. I'm just tired. Because
well, you look a little tired, frankly. And listen, real quick, let me just show you this. I want you to get this book. This is Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer. And this is maybe one of the most important books you'll ever read in terms of just getting your head right. It goes to exactly what we've been talking about with you for a long period of time. And it's not as hardcore as the title leads you to believe. It is really very intelligent. Dan Kennedy turned me on to it way back in the early 90s. It is a classic. You talk to any of the top business folks out there, marketers out there, and you mention this book, they'll all know it. This is an absolute classic, and it will teach you how to win in business, really. And I think it's a message that everybody needs to hear, but you particularly right now need to hear this. So I want you to get that book and read it. Robert Ringer, Winning Through Intimidation.
Yeah, I'm on it.
All right. So what's the status now of new hires? Do you have them in the pipeline? I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
Yeah. So I have 2 right now who have been shadowing on the floor with me. And they've been doing pretty good. Like, they have good attitudes, and that's kind of like what's most important to me. One of them, I'm letting him kind of start doing his own, like leading sessions on his own. Because our groups right now, they're small enough to allow that. Like, they've been between like 8 and 15 people. So I don't really need to like jump in as much because it's controllable. And I'm there anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But he's been doing pretty good. He's kind of got that attitude about him. And so far he's been doing pretty well. The other one, she's been shadowing with me for a little while, but she's really like relatively new to like being a personal trainer, but she really wants to do it. So it's just that's a longer build-up process for her to kind of get up there. But then again, like for the past like 3 days, she got this stomach flu that's been going around, so she's been like puking all day. So I haven't seen her in a while. That sucks. It just sucks.
But are you maintaining control with these people, with these new hires, not being their buddy, but being their boss?
Basically, because I have a lot more set up front, and I've been adjusting that as time goes on. And I let them know up front, like I have really high expectations, and if it ever seems like I'm dogging you, I just really need to give you feedback, and I'm not afraid to relate my experiences. Like I've had, like I relate basically every experience I've had with past trainers to them. Like I've had trainers who are really smart, but crappy attitude. I've had trainers who have backstabbed me before, and I'm not for that anymore. Like I tell them what's happened. I don't name anybody's name, but I tell them what's happened, and they get it. I think one thing I'm learning, though, it really helps is like having a team, and this is for me personally, is having a team of people who are like of the same faith as I am. I think it's helpful. Like last night, I was just talking to one of my coaches, and like we talked about how both of us are believers in Jesus, and that helped, I think, because we understand, we have the same like framework around difficulties. Like everything happens for a reason. It's there to get you through it. It's not like things just happen just because they happen, and so that was good. And I'm realizing more and more that that's like what I want on my team, is the people who have a very similar, not just belief system, but faith as I do. And I'm not afraid to put that out there whenever I talk to people. Like that helps.
Definitely not. Yeah, don't be. That's great. That's smart. The more aligned you all are, that generally speaking, the better the odds are that things will work out. Obviously, there's a lot of other variables, but that certainly helps. Let me mention one other thing, because I think you said you might have to go soon. But one other thing, quick thing. You've got these 2 people that are shadowing you now. What I would suggest you do is continue to advertise for trainers and get a couple in there that you interview, and make sure those 2 people that are shadowing you right now see you doing it.
Yeah.
So they know, you're not beholden to them in any way.
Yeah, they know. And I tell them that we're looking for more. And then another thing that I also want to do is, and this has been something that I learned recently, but developing like how there's like client lead generation, like having a system in place for staff lead generation. And one thing that I want to do is have an internship program with the university close by. So that way I can always have interns filing through during different semesters. And hey, if they want a position and they've gone through our program, they're already kind of bought into our system. So it's a natural fit as the next step. So that's the next thing that I'm implementing, because I don't want to be in a position where like I'm hung up on one trainer's decision to bash me and criticize me and ruin me, and then I'm effed again, you know? So I think always having people in is important.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's good. And we used to teach that in Duplicator, and Eric can attest to that, having that staff lead gen system in place, very smart. And what I would recommend you do, and there's what's his name? It'll come to me. There's another guy who teaches this at a very high level, but essentially just running an ad pretty consistently, driving leads to a landing page. The landing page, you're having the prospective trainer opt in, and once they opt in, they have instructions of here's what you need to do. And it's not, oh, mail me a resume. That's the last thing you want done. It's they got to watch a video. They got to write you a letter. They got to do something. You can come up with whatever you want to do, but have them jump through some hoops. The other thing that I would mention to you is I would look at what trainers are generally being paid in your local area. So and you can say, hey, look, over at the Equinox, over at the 24-hour fitness, whatever, trainers are making X. Here you make Y, and Y would be maybe if it's only 50 cents or $1 more. And then you say, and here's why, because we run this special kind of business. So you let them know you're paying a little bit more, you want a higher quality individual, and you're consistently looking. And those types of things, having those leads come in on a consistent basis will absolutely make a difference for you.
Yeah. So.
Anybody else got anything you want to share with Adrian?
Yeah. I'll say this, a couple things that kind of popped into my mind is with the staff thing. I think the talking about the faith thing, that's a big thing. I just recently had a personality conflict on my staff, not really, more of a communication thing, and we're all believers. You can bring that aspect in. I know I had to bring them together, and we had to do it. We opened it up in prayer, and that just, killed it right there. And that we bring that right into this business, and that just, we always go back to that because that's our final authority in this business. So I think that's key. If you're bringing that piece in, you will find the right people. The Lord will bring the right people to you. Like the other thing is the intern thing. I was just thinking when you said that, two of my interns, or two of my best trainers right now, were interns when they were in college. And we liked them so much, we kept them on as staff. And the other two were stay-at-home moms that went through the NASM program, and I brought them on as kind of like an apprenticeship. They didn't do it for college, but I brought them on as an apprentice, and they ended up being, so they came on as a trial basis. I wasn't paying them, and they shadowed. And that way you can kind of see how they interact and what they're all about. And so 4 out of my 6 trainers, that's how we have them, is from kind of an internship type deal where you bring them on. So I think that's a really good thing. And we need to get back to doing we lost a couple of our intern funnels. One of them was one of those business schools where they shut them down because their credits were kind of a little bit sketchy. But anyway, we got some good trainers from, two of my, I just think of my trainers as being good internships, or internships, you're getting free labor, but you're also developing a potential trainer because they'll know your system and everything, and it's an easy transition into that piece. And we all go through that. We went through that, where you're going through right now is where you're at this summer. I've been doing this for 13 years, and I had, not that I had the same issues you did, but I had a staff person that's from the Netherlands who went back for the summer to visit family, and then another one who took an internship at the University of Minnesota. So I had to jump in and train more and, putting in long hours. But yeah, I mean, that's part of business. So, going through that, you're going to have those times where you got to step in and do that, but, just keep yourself focused on the end game here. And then I think that's good. Like I think about when I was a college football player, we had an offensive line coach, and the first coach I had, he had all his boys, and those guys could play as bad as they wanted. We played a game against a rival college, and we had 62 yards of offense. It was just atrocious. And nobody's starting lineup got changed. I thought, here's my chance. I'm a backup. I'm going to come in and do it. Nobody got changed. And we had one of the worst offenses that year. Well, the next year came in, we changed our offense, and a new offensive line coach came in. He actually graded us, but he also rotated guys in. So you knew even as a starter that if you didn't perform, you're sitting down, and there's going to be accountability for not performing. And I think that's good because it lights a fire under people. When people think there's no way you're going to replace me, it's just natural human nature to get complacent. And I know as a player, when I was a football player and as a high school football coach, I did this, I imitated the same thing when I was a high school football coach. We always said if you didn't grade out a certain way, you're sitting down. That was the rule. I don't care if you're a senior and a sophomore comes in, there's accountability there, and you're going to get better performance out of those people because they're not going to get complacent on you. So I think that's a great advice to say, hey, I love having you here, but you know what? I'll go out and find someone else if you don't. You're not saying that, but those actions speak that. And I think in sports and business, any of those things, people start to think that they're special and that you can't replace them. I've had trainers like you that were really smart and good, and they went. Actually, when I was in MPE, they opened up a CrossFit about 2 blocks away from me. It was the best thing that happened because the arrogance got out of here, and we got the right people in. So, we talked about this a few calls back, but I think that's good. Now you got a chance to kind of reset everything and just bring that faith piece in, live that faith piece out, and make those non-negotiables. I don't rule with an iron fist, but my staff knows my boundaries, and I'll call them out. I've had to do it a couple times this week, where it's like, and I do it in a way that's not like I'm not coming down on them, but I'm just like, hey, here's the boundary, here's the expectation. You're not meeting the expectation, And they respect me, and I'd rather have them respect me than be their buddy, So.
Hell yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I will say when it comes to the internships too, though, Adrian, some of the best employees I ever got were interns. Some of the worst were interns as well. Further back, I had great employees that were interns. Recently, they've been worse. I think it's important in your program that you're not just teaching them how to be a trainer. You need to teach them some of the business of fitness, because nowadays these kids coming out of school, they literally think they should jump in and be making $100,000 a year from day one. So if you're not teaching them the business and realistic expectations, you're going to lose them, because they're going to think they're not making money quick enough. I hate to say it, it's the whole millennial stuff, but the last 2 interns I both had from the University of Missouri were good kids, great trainers and everything. They thought they should come out of school making 6 figures, because that's what we're fighting against. Our advisors telling them that they're going to set the world on fire, and they don't think they need to put in their time. So be sure in your intern program that you're letting them know realistically what their future can be earning-wise. Show them a way that they can make that kind of money, but they have to work for it. Otherwise, you will have trouble with kids coming out as interns right now.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And also, I think by introducing them, exposing them to the business side, not only are you getting a more well-rounded trainer and a more realistic trainer, as you mentioned, but you're also discovering that those who may have aptitude for it and then can move up and become lead trainers and maybe even take over become the person you put on your second location if you choose to open one.
Yeah, so you can literally be training them to be your club manager or general manager or whatever you may be. I mean, quite honestly, I brought the one kid in because I was going to groom him to take over my facility when I was ready to step away, like we were talking about earlier. That was my sole intention. A good kid, great trainer, he would have done well, but he wanted it yesterday, didn't want to put in the time. Well, that's not going to work. I mean, that would have been setting him up for failure, so it's better off to part ways.
Yeah.
It's good. That's great. I'm just redoing my internship program, and I just wrote that down. That's golden, because we dealt with it. Well, NASM says it right on their commercial, do what you love and make 6 figures. You can make a 6-figure. The NASM commercials say it. So it is, and I know all of us have paid our dues. And, I've worked Saturdays and I've worked late nights, and, it's like we know what it takes to get there. It doesn't just happen overnight. Yeah, it is. That is good. That's great stuff.
Make sure your internship program, you are teaching them some of the business. Because quite honestly, if they work out, these are parts of the business they can take over for you too. Mm-hmm. You're grooming them to take over some of the work for you and free up your time.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, that's probably more important, because you can teach anybody to train, let's be honest, for the most part. Okay, but if your internship isn't teaching them the business of fitness, you're no better than NASM and these other ones that are just telling them they can walk in and start making 6 figures instantly. And that's the problem that most fit people get when they go into the business is they think I'm a personal trainer. I'm going to make great money because nobody's taught them the business of fitness. So be that one again that does things differently. And I tell you what, that'll really put you in a great position with university advisors and whatever when they find out you're doing something like that nobody else is doing.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
All this fitness business stuff and six-figure dreams sounds like the copywriting world. Make six figures. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. All right. I think we're going to wrap this up, Adrian, unless you've got something else.
You did have a question about social media, didn't you, Adrian?
Oh, that's right. Because I've been going back and forth on this for a long time. And some people do it, some people don't. I wonder what you guys do. Like, do you allow your trainers to be friends with clients on Facebook or not? Because I've 50-50 from everybody else that I've asked.
I do.
Okay.
I think it would be hard to regulate that, to try and manage that.
We've done pretty good so far because I put it in there. So far, the way I have it written out with the 2 trainers I have is that they're not allowed to be. Because the other way around, ever since that one guy left, he would consistently bash me on people's check-ins and message them and have group messages in private about there's a whole Facebook group devoted to hating me now, all this shit. So that really burned me about that.
But you can't control what other people say, buddy.
Yeah, exactly right. And this too shall pass. It's just, it will go. And you won't even, it'll be, a fart in the wind, brother.
And how you conduct yourself with class and let him do his thing, people will see the truth, the truth.
Yeah. I told you that about 4 or 5 weeks ago, remember? Exactly. Almost verbatim what I told you. Just.
No, that's always the answer. Take the high ground, without a doubt. Just be a man and live by your principles and your values, and let, that way, because when you do that long enough, and it takes time, you're young, and as we've talked about this before, it's harder when you're young, there's no doubt. But when you get to the grizzled veteran age of an Eric Peacock and a Rick and a me and an Aaron, this shit just rolls right off your back. Sometimes it hurts, a little bit, but it only hurts for a few minutes or an hour. A day at most. That rolls off.
I mean, the bottom line is you can't stop people from commenting, but you can choose to react or not react. Yeah. And that's what people are going to see. And when your actions don't align with their words, they're going to smart people will realize the truth.
Yeah.
We've all been through that. I've had people attack me and say all these things, and people will come in and say, man, the things I heard about you and the way you are completely different, because I let my actions actually dictate instead of what somebody who didn't like me because I told them the truth said to somebody else who said to somebody else, and it snowballs. You know how that is. Don't worry about it. You can't stop them. Don't try to. Don't worry about what they say, because quite honestly, the way I look at it, if I wasn't a part of that conversation, what they said is none of my business anyway.
Yeah. Look, if you were an asshole, Adrian, we'd tell you. We'd tell you. And none of us are going to say, we all like you. And you're dealing with class people here. So if assholes are telling you you're an asshole, then it's a fart in the wind. That's all it is.
That's exactly right. I mean, as long as no one's life is at stake, and everything in your family's okay, does it really matter?
Yeah.
No. So, that's blown by. Let it be. Move on. Do whatever you do. Don't judge your new hires based on that person, because you don't want your new hires judging you on what he said either.
Yeah.
And just as a closing statement on that, Adrian, if we're ever in the same vicinity together and you fart, it better be in the wind, dude. It better not be in an elevator or something like that.
And it better be downwind.
Yeah. And that right there is what you need more of, I think, and that's laughter. You know, because that's the best stress relief. Well, it's the second best stress reliever. And
Right after food, is that what you're saying?
oh no,
Drink. Drink.
Yeah, Scotch comes before food. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate you being on the call. It's another great one as always. We're probably going to do this next week. I haven't really decided for sure. It's the 22nd, so I assume I'm going to do it. If folks want to show up, then we'll do it. If not, we won't. But I'll plan on it. So just have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Facebook. Thanks.
All right. See you, everybody.
See you guys.